Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Laura and I'm an attorney working for a court of law in Switzerland. And today I will answer some questions about what happens if you marry a Swiss. Does that mean that you become a Swiss citizen automatically too? Or can you move to and work in Switzerland? These are just some of the questions that I will answer today, so let's get started right away. The first question to answer is, if you marry a Swiss, do you become a Swiss citizen automatically too? And the answer to this is no, you don't. It takes at least a few years, usually at least 5 years, before you can apply for the Swiss citizenship. Instead, if you marry a Swiss, you will receive a B residence permit for Switzerland. But what about your kids? If you marry a Swiss, will they become Swiss citizen automatically too? Yes. This is the case if your kids are born in Switzerland. However, if they are born abroad, you will have to apply for the Swiss citizenship, but this will not be an issue if one of the parents is Swiss as well, because they will certainly receive it. One last question to answer in this context is, if you marry a Swiss, do you become a citizen of the European Union? And once again, the answer here is no, because Switzerland itself is not part of the European Union, and therefore, even if you marry a Swiss, you will not become a citizen of the European Union or of any of its member countries. Moving on, let's look at whether you are allowed to move to Switzerland and live wherever you want in the country if you marry a Swiss. And the answer to this question is both yes and no. Because if you marry a Swiss, you are in the very most cases allowed to move to Switzerland and to live here with your spouse. But if you are a citizen of a country outside of the European Union, you will actually have to live in the same household as your spouse. Therefore, you are not completely free to live wherever you want in the country. In addition to that, if you want to move to another canton, meaning to another state in Switzerland, you will have to ask for a permission beforehand. This permission is necessary as long as you do not yet have a C settlement permit or the Swiss citizenship yourself. However, the situation is slightly different for spouses of Swiss citizens that are themselves citizens of a European Union country, because they are not required to live in the same household with their spouse, and they are therefore pretty much free to live wherever they want in Switzerland. Regarding the topic of moving to Switzerland, let's look at the following. If you marry a Swiss and if you are moving to Switzerland, do you have to have health insurance here? While this may not be the first thing on your mind, having health insurance is very important, and therefore the answer to this question is clear. Yes, absolutely. In fact, getting health insurance will be one of the first things you will have to do once you move to Switzerland, as it is mandatory for everybody living here. Moving forward to our next question. If you marry a Swiss, are you allowed to work in Switzerland? This question can clearly be answered with yes. If you marry a Swiss citizen, you will receive a B permit, and with that you are allowed to work and or study anywhere in Switzerland. The next question is, if you marry a Swiss, are you allowed to buy a house in Switzerland? Once again, the answer here is yes. If you are married to a Swiss, you will not have a legal issue to buy a house or property in Switzerland as long as you provide the necessary financial means. However, if you were living here without being married to a Swiss with a B permit, the situation could present itself a bit more complicated. The next question is one that people probably ask quite a lot once they marry a Swiss and move to Switzerland, and that is if other family members of theirs, such as the parents, siblings or kids, can move to Switzerland with them. The answer to this question is generally no, they cannot. At least not for a while, or only under very specific circumstances. But it also depends. While it can be very complicated and really expensive to move your elder relatives, such as for example your parents, from their home country to Switzerland, the situation is of course different for children that are under your parental care. Very often these situations have to be looked at individually. Moving on to another question, let's ask ourselves, if you marry a Swiss, are you allowed to vote in Switzerland? And the answer here is no, you are not, at least not for a while, because you will only receive the so-called political rights once you become a Swiss citizen yourself, and as I mentioned earlier, this normally takes quite a few years. And the right to vote, as well as the right to participate in federal elections, are part of these political rights. And finally, let's answer the question whether if you marry a Swiss, you have to pay double taxes. The answer to this question is probably not, because there are only 2 countries in the world that tax their citizens while they are living abroad and therefore also while they are living in Switzerland, and that is the United States and Eritrea. However, several other countries tax their citizens for a short period of time once they move abroad. That means that individuals who leave a country may continue to be taxed until they were a non-resident for at least 6 months or a year. But if you are a US citizen and if you move to Switzerland, you will have to pay taxes in both countries, meaning in the United States and in Switzerland, if, and that is a big if you earn more than a certain amount of money per year. With this, we're now getting to the end of today's video. But please, if you have any additional questions, make sure to leave them in the comment section below. Other than that, I hope that this video was interesting to you and that you were able to learn something from it. If so, feel free to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you don't want to miss any videos in the future. And finally, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to be talking to you again soon.